Hello and welcome to Bitesize Edge. So today I have a guest with me, Marianna, who is a runner from Bedford, and that really is all I'm going to give you in the introduction because Marianna's got a lot that she wants to talk about today. I've got lots of questions that I want to ask Marianna. So let's get started. So welcome, Marianna. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Hello.
Good to have you here. So Marianna, I introduce you purely as a runner from Bedford. So, tell me a little bit about your passion for running.
Um, okay. So um, Obviously, you know, I was not sure, to be honest, to start with how to introduce myself, and running come into my mind straight away because it's something that is key for me. That was key for me for many years before I got ill with COVID, and it's still key for me at the moment when I can't run at all. It's also key for me because my hope is that I will be able to get back to it, despite at the moment it doesn't seem likely.
Okay.
I mean, running was very important for me before. It's fantastic for mental health reasons. It's fantastic for keeping yourself fit, for keeping up with things in your life, for managing a busy life that I used to lead before COVID. Uh, I'm a mom of two teenagers. I've got a responsible job in London. um, I'm working with children in different circumstances, and it's very stressful. And one thing that I do for me to keep myself sane and to keep myself going is running really.
Yeah, that resonates with me, Marianna. Like you, I've got two children and a very busy life, and so running is very much my go-to. It's my headspace. So I hear you when you talk about running in that way. So you mentioned early on in that intro, Marianna, that COVID has has come into play. So you got COVID, and it's had quite a major impact on your world. Can you just talk to me a little bit about what happened for you with getting COVID and where you find yourself now?
Yeah, so I was one of the first one to get COVID. Out of everyone I know, really, it was around March last year, um, and it was end of March. Few weeks before that, we did a really nice half marathon with my friends from the local running group I belong to. It's called Transition Coaching Bedford Group, and I have many friends there. I didn't mention it, but another benefit of running is just to having the most wonderful people doing it, encouraging you, supporting you in everything. So that half marathon was very special. It was Cambridge one. It was lovely. It was spring, beginning of March, 8th of March last year. Daffodils were all out. You just go through the colleges and out to the countryside with flowers, and it just was the most amazing event. And after that, you just felt really strong. You feel like you can do so many things. uh, and then I think a week or so after, I attended the international conference in London. um, I work in international education. So on this conference, there were a lot of people from different countries who came from all these hotspots, Italy, Spain, China, and many others. So I suppose, COVID wasn't a big thing back then. We still thought that it was something, um, you know, for people who traveled. So we were not particularly careful, no masks or anything like that. Kept some sort of distance, I remember, but it was very different back then. So I got COVID then. I had it really mildly. Symptoms were just really, really mild. It was a bit of a loss of smell and taste, and a little temperature. It was just nothing really. I thought I had COVID, but I was not sure really, because back then it wasn't loss of taste or smell wasn't a symptom back then. So I wasn't really sure, and you didn't have to isolate according to the guidance at the time. So but my partner got really unwell about 5 days after me. She was in bed for weeks. So she had more sort of COVID symptoms. And later we both tested for antibodies, and it was found, because test wasn't available as well back then. So it was really mild.
This was this was at the end of March. So
Yeah.
into lockdown, or this was all before we went into lockdown?
Yeah, just before we went into the lockdown.
Okay. Yeah.
Then we went into lockdown, and I felt fine. I felt absolutely normal, and I thought, like I guess many people in my position would still think that now. I thought it's nothing. I thought it's no big deal. It's for elderly or for vulnerable people with conditions. I wasn't one of them. So it was fine. I was really proud that even when I thought I had COVID, even that week I ran 3 times, because I didn't have to isolate. I stayed away from everyone. I wasn't even sure what was it, and I never missed a week. I used to run 3-4 times a week. Once was a longer run, and I never stopped. So it was, got back into running. Thought that I was lucky. I thought maybe my partner wasn't so lucky. She's not a runner. So I thought that, because you're not as fit as me, that's why, you suffer more. But then she was resting properly, I suppose, and I was not.
But you felt perfectly fine and fit and healthy. So you had mild symptoms. So you thought you were okay and you were over it. Your partner was in bed. She was really poorly, but she rested. You didn't rest. You went out running again because you thought you were okay.
Yeah. Even now, it's not a clear guidance, but it becomes more and more clear that if you have COVID, you really want to wait for all your symptoms to disappear, and then wait for another few weeks before you get back to exercises.
So even if you feel good, even if you're somebody who's fit like you were, running 3 times a week, if you even having those mild symptoms, your message is, from experience, you now need to be in a position where you completely rest and you allow all of those symptoms to subside.
Yeah, and you wait, and after you have no symptoms at all, you still wait for another few weeks.
Wow. Okay.
Because it's still unclear, how it works with your body, and you don't want to put it under pressure, which is what you do really when you exercise.
Yeah.
I was fine for a few months after that, continue running. Obviously, it was lockdown, so running was especially important, like never before. You remember we only were allowed to go once.
Yes.
So, to go once and do this, amazing run in spring, even though everything was different, children were irritating at home, homeschooling, everyone was stressed, clients, work, friends were, down, and it was just just everything was all over the place. But
Mm.
there was one thing I would do, and it was just lovely to go for that run in the morning.
Yeah.
And it was really, really special. Then we, then after a while, I can't remember when, but when we were allowed to go with a friend, we ran together with, again, friends from transition coaching. And at some point, we were allowed to go more than two in the summer,
Yes.
and we were starting to running three, whatever, in groups, which was really nice. So we decided to go a little bit out of Bedford, because it was so, so boring. We did all these routes around Bedford so many times. We decided to go for a really nice 10-mile route around Grafham Waters towards Peterborough, which is a lovely route, lovely lake. About 10 miles. And then the girls wanted to do a little bit more in preparation for the London Marathon.
Yeah.
That they were preparing for. I was not registered to do that, but I was training with them. So I was absolutely, on their level.
So you
And
were doing the long distances with them. You were training as if you were about to run the marathon, but you weren't
yeah.
registered. Okay.
Yeah, and I was ready, totally fine. And then sort of around that time, I just started to notice that I get a little bit breathless as I run. Obviously ignored that, like we do, being runners, being mom,
Mm.
just ignore feeling uncomfortable and just
Yeah.
used to push through things. So it got a little bit worse and worse. And after this really long uh, 10 miles, we ended up doing about a half marathon. It was about 12, 13 miles at Grafham. And I just remember going back to my car and just feeling so terrible, so not myself. And I just thought, how am I going to drive back? I
So you felt that bad that you were
felt
actually,
really ill after that. Although I did
wow.
run, and it was fine. I was breathless,
Hmm.
but I just felt really, really bad. So I was struggled to get back home. I felt really ill after that, and then next day I woke up with a terrible chest pain. It was all looking and felt like a heart attack.
Wow.
Um, and just from there, it's just all started really, really badly. I ended up in Bedford Hospital with suspected heart attack. um, I didn't know where Bedford Hospital is. I didn't know where my GP surgery is. I didn't have any phone numbers. I never ever
You've never
uh,
needed them.
never
You've
needed
always
that.
been fit and healthy.
Never really. Yeah, the only reason I would call the doctors would be for eczema for my children. I
Hmm.
never asked doctor about anything for myself. So they did check me in hospital, and that's what a lot of long COVID sufferers saying, that we would all get checked many times, and
Right.
so many tests would come back normal.
Mm.
All the ECG, chest X-ray, bloods, everything is normal. You would be sent home with nothing, and you still don't feel better.
So at this point, Mariana, you've gone into hospital with chest pains. You finish your run, you feel terrible. The next day, you're in a lot of pain. You get admitted to Bedford Hospital with chest pains. They think it's a suspected heart attack. At any point here, did you think, I wonder whether this is long COVID? Or was that even a sentence that you understood? Because long COVID is something pretty new, and a lot of people have very limited awareness around it, which is another reason why we wanted to chat today.
Mhm.
They've said a suspected heart attack.
Yeah, yeah. Long COVID was never mentioned. I don't think I even heard about it till much later in the year, autumn time maybe.
Right.
And also, I was not even sure it's related to. It certainly was difficult to make a connection with that mild illness I had in March. Because this is another funny thing about long COVID, that it might just start a few months after.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
very unpredictable. So, perhaps it's obviously it's still research going, and no one knows. No one can say that if I rested instead of running, then for sure I would avoid it. It's just I know one thing, that COVID is really, really big deal, and it comes into your body in different ways, and you just don't know how will you be affected, regardless of how fit, healthy, uh, you know,
Yeah.
active and everything else you are. So yeah, from then it was just a struggle from June time, to till now, really. It's it it feels like living with some sort of chronic illness, and it's in the beginning it was all very weird, and I tried to ignore that again as what I would do normally, and I tried to ignore chest pains and breathless. I tried still to go for some sort of jogs, runs. I try to get back to normal me, because so many illnesses, the doctors would advise you to do a bit of exercise.
Yes.
And, when we're runners, we hear one thing, Paula Radcliffe said, one thing you're never going to regret is going out
Going
for a
for a
run.
run. Yeah.
And we just have it, I don't know, just have it stuck in our minds, because just go for a run. You tell yourself, you're not going to regret it. And when you do it, you do feel a little bit more, normal. You think it's going to be fine, but then you end up with really terrible post-exercise, condition, feel really unwell for days. And all my attempts to get back to some sort of exercise, to some sort of normality, they all really failed miserably.
So even until today, they've all failed, or have you started to make steps towards?
There is no way I can
No.
start at the moment. It's
So,
so at the especially as the more you try to push yourself, the worse it becomes. Around Christmas time, I couldn't even walk 200 meters without sitting down. uh, I my friends from transition coaching, they try to support me, they try to help going for a walk with me, but you train with somebody for London Marathon, and then you try to walk for uh, around the park, and you need to sit down 10 times. That's just, it's difficult.
that's really tough. So, Mariana, just explain, because I think this is so important, and I just don't believe there's enough information and awareness out there about long COVID. So, just if you can, just explain to me, what does a good day look like now for you, bearing in mind, before all of this, you were somebody who was training at the level of being able to run marathons, happily doing half marathons, running 3 times a week, fit and healthy, didn't even know where your doctor's surgery was, didn't need to now. So what does a good day look like for you now?
So it means that I can do everyday tasks. Uh, just that. That's a good day for me at the moment. It
Okay.
means that I can, get up in the morning. I can brush my teeth without need to sit down. I can do the dishes, after lunch without need to sit down, and I can, uh, even if I'm lucky, and I can get through the day without needing a few naps. That's a good
Okay.
day for me at the moment.
That's a good day.
And
And
I maybe go. Yeah, I try to go for a walk. It's a really slow one, and if I don't feel breathless too much, then it's very, very good day.
so before we started today, you said to me, I'm not having a particularly good day. So tell me, what's today for you, Mariana?
It's just that you have constant chest pains, feel really tired, And you just, even when you talk to somebody, you don't know that, you're going to be able to carry it to the end or not.
So just talking to me now, is this quite a tiring process for you?
Yeah, I mean, I do understand now, perhaps, that I'm trying to find positives in everything. And one of the positives, I think, that then you can relate and you can understand people living with some chronic conditions. And that's how it feels. Yeah.
And for you moving forward, but obviously, you've got a support network, you've got your friends at Transition Coaching, you've got your children and your partner, and you've got a job that I'm guessing you enjoy. Moving forward, where would you like to see yourself in 6 months' time?
I would just want to get back to running, really.
Yeah.
Because if I do that, then everything else would fall in place.
Yeah, the power of running. Okay. Marianna, thank you so, so much for talking to me today. I really appreciate it. As I said earlier, I think this is such an important conversation that we're having, to be able to bring some awareness to long COVID, something that very few people are aware of. I think the awareness is building, but just from that moment of understanding that it's not as simple as getting COVID and getting better. For some individuals, like yourself, Marianna, there's getting COVID, having those mild symptoms, feeling as though all is well again, and actually a few months later, them being hit with very severe symptoms, which impact quite quite hugely on somebody's world. So, Marianna, thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you so much for listening. And obviously, yeah, my point is to raise awareness not for people who are already scared of COVID, but for people who still think it's not a big deal.
Yeah, because I'm guessing there's many of those individuals out there too. And we need to sit up and take note that it is a big deal. And as you've demonstrated, COVID can hit anyone, even the fittest and the most healthy individuals. So, Marianna, thank you so much. I will let you go now and rest. I appreciate your time and energy. Thank you so much for talking to me at Bitesize Edge.